Turning now to a new memoir by Amanda Kloots, the wife of the late Broadway actor Nick Cordero. The Tony nominee lost his battle with the coronavirus last July after spending 95 days in the ICU. Amanda helped inspire tens of thousands of people to rally around him on social media. She shared updates on his fight and led daily sing-alongs to his song, Live Your Life.
I wish you well, but won't be on the other side, biding my time. Live your life like a rock star.
Now Amanda's sharing their story in her new memoir, Live Your Life, My Story of Loving and Losing Nick Cordero. She wrote it with her sister, Anna Kloots. Amanda, who is also a co-host of The Talk on CBS, joins us now. Amanda, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. I know this book has to mean so much to you, and you started it, I think, a couple of months after you lost Nick. Why was it important for you to take on this?
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me today. I started it 2 weeks after Nick passed, actually. I was back in Ohio with my family, kind of taking some time just to kind of process everything. And I'll tell you what, I don't think I could write this book now. When I started this, putting everything down on paper, everything was just so in the front of my mind, the doctors, the medical terms, the numbers, the machines, and it honestly felt so good to write it down, to get it out of my head and put it on to, well, I'm going to say paper, but on a keyboard to my laptop. It was extremely therapeutic and really cathartic just to kind of take that trauma and put it down on a piece of paper. And your sister Anna joined you. What was that process like? Honestly, I don't think I could have done it with anyone else. Anna was with me for the 95-day battle with Nick. She also was with us in New York. She was kind of like our third wheel, our whole relationship. She was on part of our honeymoon with us. And not only that, yeah, she was. But, she's my best friend, and we speak telepathically. She is my right arm. And she was in Paris and I was in Los Angeles, and because of the time difference, we honestly were writing almost in 24-hour cycles. I would go to sleep, she would be waking up, I would send her chapters, she would wake up, work on those chapters, she would go to bed, I would wake up, and I would start writing again. So someone was working on this book constantly, which is, I think, why we were able to write it in 6 months, which is, I've learned, because this is my first book, that's unheard of. That's a miracle. That's what it is. It's 6 months.
Amanda, I remember watching your journey on social media and on this program, as Nick was going through his battle, and I was so struck by your positivity. What was your secret for maintaining that attitude, and what's your advice for people who are grieving loved ones lost during this pandemic?
Thank you so much. The head doctor, Dr. David Ng, he and I just became like war buddies through this battle. And day one, he told me, he said, Amanda, if we look at this in a positive light, there's possibilities. And if we look at it in a negative light, we have no options. And that is in the book, and I always have lived a positive lifestyle. I start my day every morning with a positive thought, and I put it on my Instagram stories to share with all my followers. But that just really stuck to me, and it still does today. And, I think grieving is tough. It is a road that you can only go on yourself. It is a roller coaster. It is ups and downs and twists and turns. 1 minute you're smiling and laughing, and the next minute you're in tears, and you really can't explain it. And it's a tough road, but I really do think that if you can find one thing a day, one thing that keeps you happy, one thing that makes you smile, by the end of the week you have this beautiful bouquet, and you just have to find those little things throughout this journey.
Amanda, that's a beautiful way to put it. It's Tony here. We said earlier in the broadcast that we're approaching 600,000 deaths due to the coronavirus. You're certainly one of the best-known families to have gone through that terrible loss, but there are so many others out there. I'm curious, as you were writing this book, did you have a sense that you had a duty to represent what all those other families were going through as well? And if one of those families should pick up the book, what do you hope they get from it?
Thank you. You know, Tony, yes, absolutely. That crossed my mind. It's impossible to write this book and not think about the loss that, you know, the world has had from coronavirus. And it's just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And I never thought in writing this book I would feel like that I was kind of writing Nick's closure to his story. But I really do believe that in writing this, he now knows everything that happened to him because he didn't know. I never let him know really any of the negative things that were happening on a daily basis. That roller coaster ride in the ICU was so tough. You know, I just think that we have to keep moving forward. We have to still wear our masks and try to socially distance and just be careful and get your vaccine. And as we slowly come back into the world, you know, just don't forget where we were a year ago and how things have changed. And it's wonderful to see. I mean, to see Chicago like that, I mean, I honestly was almost in tears. But also, it's crazy to think where we were just a year ago, how different our lives were.
Amanda, we've got to go, but I want to thank you for joining us. I also want to mention we saw pictures of Elvis, who just turned 2, your son. He looks great as well. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Live Your Life, my story of loving and losing Nick Cordero will be on sale tomorrow.